Andrew Plitt here with andrewplitt.com. In this video, we are continuing to go deeper into the basics and the foundational concepts of Standing Post Qigong. If you're enjoying these videos so far, please let me know in the comments below. Also, if you have any questions about what we talk about in this video or what we've talked about in previous videos, please put those questions in the comments below too. And also let me know what your experience level is with Standing Post Qigong, how long you've been practicing, if you're brand new to it, all of those sorts of things. I would love to hear sort of what your relationship is with Standing Post Qigong. In this video, we're talking all about the hips and what the hips should be doing. Now, fortunately, if you've been doing everything in the previous videos up until now, it should be pretty straightforward. Your hips are kind of already doing what they're supposed to be doing based on what we've done in previous videos, but we're going to spend a little bit of time describing exactly what's going on with the hips. So when you practice Standing Post Qigong or when you're practicing Taiji, there's something that you want to maintain while you're doing this, and it's called a fold in the qua, or you want to fold the qua. And what the qua is basically the inguinal crease. So the crease that is between your thigh and your hips here, right there, that crease, you want to fold that. And so basically what that's meaning, what that's saying is you don't push the hips forward and lock this open. You want to close that and relax it in here so that there's a crease and a fold. You don't want it to be pushed forward and locked out. And so that's one more reason why if we are doing our Standing Post Qigong, if we turn out here, it's a lot more likely that we're going to push forward, so like squeeze the butt and push the hips forward. And that changes the structure both down through the legs and up through the rest of the body in a way that's much less stable than if we relax that in. It also locks up the hip joints, and we don't want that. We want them free to move when we're doing Taiji. And when you're standing, doing Standing Qigong, you still want them free to move. They don't move, right? It's Standing Post Qigong. You're just standing there, but you have active intention all through the body. So there's internal motion that's happening, internal intention, even though externally it looks like you're just standing there. So you do want the hips to be relaxed. You want them to be able to move and not be locked in place as you're practicing your Standing Post Qigong. And part of finding that relaxation for the hips is folding the qua, or kind of folding the inguinal crease, allowing this area to relax and kind of close in a bit, and the back does more of an expanding out. Now what you don't want to do is push the butt way out, but you can have a little bit of backward opening expansion here, inward folding in the front. And it's important to remember with this inward folding, it's not allowing the knees to buckle. If the inward folding is happening with the feet like this, then the knees are lined up with the toes, and this is a little bit more easy to see that fold in the hips when the toes are facing in. When the toes are facing forward, that intention should be there. So it's more like you're sitting down, and just like you would kind of fold the qua or kind of crease the inguinal crease as you're sitting down into a chair, that's what's happening here with your feet facing directly forward. Even with your feet facing outward, that should still be present. And the only reason why it's less advantageous to stand this way, as we talked about before, is it's very easy to change how your body's structured when the toes are facing out. The easiest way to get that down is with the toes facing in, and that again is why I think this is the best way to stand, especially when you're first learning Standing Post Qigong. If you want to change it afterwards, that's fine, but when you're first learning, keep the toes pointed inward to support this idea of folding of the qua and expansion outward on the back side and outsides, folding in and closing on the front sides and the insides. Now to get the alignment right in the actual hip joints so that they are able to fold in and still be open and flexible and able to move, we need to talk about the tilt of the hips. What we were talking about before with that folding in is more the acetabular femoral joint. So that's really where this kind of motion is happening. But this motion involves some of the low back, and it also involves those joints. So if we're tilting the hips forward or back, it's going to change our ability to fold the qua to keep the hips relaxed and to be able to move while maintaining a good structure. So what we don't want to do is push the hips, or push the butt, I guess I should say, way back. It can go back a bit, but you don't want to basically arch the low back to push the hips out, okay? So this, we're kind of jumping ahead a little bit. You do want to keep the spine like an intention of a straight spine, and we're going to get more into that in the future. But for right now, just think about the expansion of the low back, maintaining a straight low back, so that even if you push your hips back a little, it's not arching the low back. Okay, so never arch the low back and push the butt out that way. Conversely, never push the hips so far forward that you're rounding the back in the opposite direction. So you don't want to super flex or super extend the lumbar spine. And the way that you prevent that is by keeping the hips in a fairly neutral position. So not rocked all the way here, not rocked all the way here. Find the middle ground so that you can sink down. Think about your sacrum. This is going to be a little bit of a rabbit trail, but it's going to be useful, so let's follow it. There is a saying in Taiji practice that you want to sink the tailbone. And what is actually meant by that is to sink the sacrum. If you look at the structure of the tailbone, it really, if this is your sacrum, your tailbone's hooking underneath your body like this. And so if I'm standing here and my tailbone's doing that, if I want to sink the tailbone straight down, I'm going to have to push my butt back to get the tailbone, which is the coccyx, at the very end of the spinal column. It should be facing forward when you're standing, and to get it facing straight down, I would have to do this. So what you really want to do is think of the sacrum, and that's the solid bone here at the base of the spine. So your spinal column goes down through the lumbar vertebrae, and your L5 vertebra sits on what's considered S1, or the base of the sacrum. And the sacrum is like a wedge, like this. And it's kind of what transmits the force of the spine to the hip bones, or your ilia, to your femurs, and down through the legs. So it's kind of like the key that connects the upper body to the lower body, the sacrum. And so that's the thing that you want to focus on, sinking downward, directing downward. Don't worry about the tailbone, the coccyx. That's not really that important when we're talking about the structure of the body in Taiji training. What you want to think of instead is the sacrum. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about here, try Googling sacrum and just kind of look at the images and how it fits in the body. Look at the tailbone or the coccyx and look at how it relates to the structure of the body. You'll see that the body's weight sits, the upper body's weight sits on the sacrum, and that's where it's transmitted to the lower body. So that's really the place that we're focused on when we say sink the tailbone. It's kind of used incorrectly. It's not the tailbone, it's the sacrum. So with that in mind, what we want to do to keep the hips in the correct alignment is to think of sinking or sending energy straight down through the sacrum, and it's being drawn straight down. If I let this happen, then it's being drawn back. If I let this happen, then it's being drawn forward, right? And that's going to change the rest of the structure of the body. It's going to change my structure through the lower half of my body. It's going to change what we talked about in previous videos. So think of the sacrum and think of it being drawn straight down. That is going to allow you to get your hips in the correct tilt orientation so that it's not too far either way. So then with that, you have this downward intention at the sacrum. That's transmitted down through the legs, and that allows you to maintain a correct structure, relax, fold the quads, fold the inguinal crease, expand out on the outside, and if we're doing the Zhan Zhuang training or the standing post, then we can turn the legs in and further amplify that direction of force from the upper body down through the lower body. So that got kind of complex. I hope it makes sense that what you're wanting to do is fold in the front, open in the back, and then keep the sacrum drawing straight down to the ground, and use that as the way to keep your hips from rocking too far forward or too far back. For the sake of clarity, I am planning at some point in the future to do a video where I use just images of the spine and the sacrum and all of that, and just kind of draw out what I was talking about in this video so it's a little more clear. But I hope that this was clear enough to help you get an idea of what your hips should be doing and what your sacrum should be doing basically as part of this sort of hip complex, even though that gets more into kind of what the lower back is doing. So it's difficult to separate these things out completely, but we'll get more into what the lower back should be doing, what the spine should be doing, all of that in future videos. If you have any questions about what we talked about in this video, please put them in the comments below. If you got something out of this video, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and also become a supporting member of this channel to help ensure that more videos like this will be made available in the future. Stay safe and healthy out there, and as always, thank you for watching.